Some connections enter our lives with the quiet power of a dream, as if the stars arranged themselves for two souls to meet. It feels predestined, sacred, too vivid to question, and yet there are times when that very same connection begins to feel heavy, uncertain, or strangely misaligned. You notice small signs, not dramatic, but persistent, a growing sense of disconnection, a silence that no longer feels peaceful, a weight where once there was ease. These are not failures in love. They are invitations from the soul. Carl Jung taught that the unconscious speaks in symbols, and the universe often mirrors this language. When something is no longer aligned with our individuation, the path toward our true self, the universe begins to whisper. At first it's gentle, a dream, a repeated phrase, a gut feeling. Then it intensifies, not to harm us, but to protect our becoming. Comment: I choose the love that sets me free below if you believe this truth. What we often interpret as romantic fate may be a projection, the soul's early attempt to heal through another. Jung described projection as the unconscious act of attributing parts of ourselves to someone else. In love, we project our deepest longings to be seen, to be held, to be whole. And in the beginning, it feels like they are all of this and more. But slowly, reality peeks through the cracks. Their flaws irritate us. Their silence becomes unbearable. Their presence, once comforting, begins to confuse us. The signs appear not as thunder, but as echoes, repeating situations, emotional friction, or uncanny coincidences that all seem to push us back into ourselves. These signs are not sent to break us, but to awaken us to what we must see, that not every connection is meant to endure. Some are bridges, not homes. To walk away from a bond that once felt sacred is not betrayal, it is sacred too. In Jungian psychology, the process of individuation demands that we integrate the shadow, the rejected, repressed, and ignored parts of ourselves. Often, romantic relationships awaken these parts with brutal precision. We find ourselves repeating old patterns, the fear of abandonment, the need to please, the compulsion to fix. And yet, despite all effort, the pain persists. This is not the failure of love. It is the resistance to growth. The universe sends you these signs, not to shame you, but to liberate you, to remind you that your wholeness does not depend on being loved, but on remembering who you are when the illusions fade. Sometimes, the most painful signs are the most honest. The more we ignore the unease, the louder it becomes. Miscommunications pile up, plans fall through, the laughter fades, and all the while something inside you is whispering, "This is not where your soul will flourish." You try to hold on, because the heart remembers the sweetness of the beginning. But growth often means choosing discomfort in the short term for truth in the long run. If you're feeling torn between love and self, between connection and clarity, trust that the universe is not taking anything from you. It is making room for your return to yourself. The signs are sacred, and your soul already knows the way home. The beginning of love can feel like a mirror held up to your highest self. Your laughter brighter, your purpose clearer, your hope returning. But eventually that mirror shifts. Instead of reflecting who you wish to become, it begins to reveal what you have long avoided. This is not a failure of love, but a deep function of it. Jung believed that the people we draw into our lives are never random. They are psychic mirrors. They reflect our inner architecture, the light and the shadow. And when two people are not meant to walk a long road together, it is usually because one or both begin to see not a reflection of beauty, but a projection of wounds. This is when the signs grow clearer, the joy becomes fleeting. The conversations feel more like negotiations. You sense a mismatch not just in lifestyle, but in soul rhythm. At this stage, synchronicities begin to appear. You think of ending things, and suddenly an old friend calls with a story of liberation. You walk into a bookstore, and a title leaps at you, Letting Go. You hear a song about freedom, at the exact moment your heart is questioning its own captivity. These are not coincidences. Jung called them meaningful coincidences, synchronicities. Events that have no direct cause, but are deeply tied to your internal process. The universe is not cruel, it is precise. It is a sacred companion in your becoming. When you're not meant to be with someone, it shows you through these signals that your inner truth is knocking, asking to be honored, even if it breaks your heart to do so. But we often resist these signs because we've built a story about love conquering all, a story where leaving is weakness and staying is proof of loyalty, a story that says suffering must be endured in the name of something sacred. Yet Jung reminds us that sacredness lies not in sacrifice alone, but in authenticity. When we remain in misaligned relationships, we sacrifice our own soul's calling. We stay because we fear regret, we fear hurting the other, or we fear being alone. But what we should fear more is betraying ourselves. The signs the universe sends, repeated pain, emotional exhaustion, blocked paths, are not here to punish you. They are a rescue mission. They are your future self trying to intervene. True connection does not chain us to patterns that keep us small. It expands us. And when the soul is ready to grow beyond the limits of a particular bond, it sends out an energetic signal to the universe. I am ready. That readiness is often answered with chaos, not because you are being cursed, but because everything that no longer fits must be shaken loose. The disagreements intensify, the distance grows, and inside a deep knowing begins to form. The kind of knowing that doesn't need validation. If you are sensing this now, if your body feels tired from trying to hold together something that wants to be released, trust that this is not the end. It is the turning of a sacred page, one that will lead you closer to your wholeness. There is a quiet ache that comes when you begin to outgrow someone. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it arrives like a soft melancholy, a sense that your soul is expanding, but the relationship cannot contain it anymore. In Jungian terms, this is the tension between the persona, the version of yourself shaped for love, and the authentic self who is crying to emerge. You may find yourself avoiding conversations, feeling less seen, less heard, less alive. The things that once felt comforting now feel like compromises. And here again the universe speaks, not in grand gestures, but in subtle shifts. The moments you feel lonelier in their presence than you do in solitude. The dreams that leave you weeping with a truth your waking mind refuses to say aloud. In this sacred unraveling, the Anima and Animus, the inner feminine and masculine, come forward. According to Jung, every person carries within them these energies, and often we seek in others what we have yet to integrate within ourselves. A woman might project her inner animus onto a man, hoping he will protect, lead, or give structure to her life. A man may seek in a woman his anima, hoping she will awaken beauty, tenderness, or depth within him. These projections create bonds, but they are fragile. When a relationship is built on what we lack rather than who we are, it cannot last. The universe begins to tear down these illusions, sometimes with disappointment, sometimes with grief, sometimes with liberating clarity. You may notice that communication becomes strained. It's not that words fail, it's that they no longer reach the heart. You explain yourself, but they don't understand. You ask for presence, but receive distraction. You try to bridge the emotional gap, but feel yourself growing more distant, and beneath it all, something ancient inside you begins to rise, a need to return to yourself. The universe honors that rising. It starts to bring you moments of contrast. You feel light around others, but heavy around them. You thrive in silence, but feel drained in their company. You dream of a life that they no longer fit into. And none of it means you didn't love them. It means you've reached the edge of that love's purpose. Because not all love is meant to last. Some love is meant to awaken. Some people come not to walk with us forever, but to show us what we've been unwilling to see. They press the wounds we hide. They trigger the stories we carry, and they hold up the mirror so we can finally confront the version of ourselves that still believes we are incomplete. Jung called this the confrontation with the shadow. It is the most painful but also the most essential step toward inner transformation. And when a relationship is no longer aligned, the universe uses this confrontation as a catalyst to shake us free from comfort, to strip us of illusion, and to return us to the only place we can ever truly belong within. There comes a moment when trying harder no longer brings closeness, only exhaustion. You find yourself explaining, justifying, hoping, but deep down you sense the sacred silence between you has changed. It is no longer the comfortable silence of two souls resting together. It becomes the heavy absence of connection itself. Jung understood that relationships serve as mirrors to our unconscious, and when those mirrors crack, it is not because we have failed, it is because the soul demands a more truthful reflection. Signs from the universe become undeniable: increased misunderstandings, constant misalignments in plans, and small betrayals of trust that seem to repeat, like an old wound being pressed over and over again. What you are witnessing is the universe withdrawing its blessing from a connection that has completed its deeper work. If you find yourself making excuses for the relationship, ignoring your own emotional needs, or convincing yourself that the pain is normal, it is time to listen deeper. Love does not thrive on martyrdom. In fact, Jungian wisdom teaches us that real love begins when illusion ends. To individuate is to shed these illusions, even if it tears at the heart. The universe does not punish you by taking someone away. It preserves you by revealing when a bond is built more on need than on true affinity. And so, repeated setbacks, conversations that go nowhere, plans that crumble despite best intentions, these are not random hardships. They are sacred signs, steering you away from patterns that no longer serve your evolution. In some cases, the universe sends dreams, vivid, unsettling, prophetic. Dreams where you are lost, separated, or endlessly searching. Dreams where the person you love becomes a stranger or walks away. Jung believed that dreams are communications from the unconscious, and when the unconscious screams through dreams, it is because the conscious mind has refused to hear. These dreams are not to frighten you, but to awaken you. They are messages that you are trying to hold together a path that is no longer yours to walk. If you are experiencing these dreams, do not brush them aside. Sit with them. They come bearing truth that words during the day dare not say. Letting go of someone who feels like a part of your soul is the hardest act of love. But sometimes it is the purest. It is the love that respects both your journey and theirs. It is the love that refuses to force a bond when the soul is calling for release. You are not abandoning them. You are not giving up on love. You are choosing to honor the deeper wisdom that sometimes love's highest expression is freedom. And by setting them free and freeing yourself, you are opening the space for a connection not built on projections or needs, but on truth. A connection where two complete souls meet, not to complete each other, but to walk beside each other whole. There are goodbyes that echo louder than words, goodbyes that begin in the heart long before they are spoken aloud. You start to notice how your spirit shrinks in their presence, how your dreams feel smaller, how your laughter becomes less spontaneous. These are not mere emotional shifts. They are the sacred language of your soul signaling that your path is diverging. Carl Jung reminds us that the psyche, when stifled, creates symptoms, sadness, restlessness, anxiety, not to punish but to awaken. The signs from the universe accumulate softly, then urgently. Fatigue that does not leave, tears you cannot fully explain, a longing for something you cannot quite name. What you long for is yourself, the self that knows love should nourish, not diminish. In the final stages of a misaligned connection, you often find yourself mourning what could have been more than what actually was. The dreams you built together, the future you imagined, the story you clung to, these begin to crumble. This is where many mistake loyalty for growth. Jung would say that when an idea, person, or structure no longer serves individuation, the unconscious begins to break it down from within, and so the conversations feel hollow, the promises feel distant, even the touch that once ignited something within you now feels foreign. This is not because love failed, but because the soul has shifted. Your spirit has outgrown a container too small for who you are becoming. Still, endings wrapped in destiny do not announce themselves with anger or cruelty. They often slip in like a changing season, slow, undeniable, bittersweet. You realize you no longer recognize yourself in the mirror when you are with them. You feel called to places they do not wish to go. Your hunger for meaning, depth, or expansion feels like a foreign language they no longer understand. These are not reasons to stay and try harder. They are reasons to listen. When everything in your being, from your dreams to your everyday reality, points toward departure, it is no longer just a decision of the mind. It is a movement of the soul, and the universe stands behind this movement, nudging, urging, guiding you toward the threshold. There is nothing wrong with having loved someone who could not stay on your path. Their chapter was sacred. Their lessons were sacred. Even their leaving, or your leaving, is sacred. Jung taught that each relationship is a step on the ladder toward greater consciousness. Some people are meant to break us open so that new light can enter. Some are meant to mirror our wounds so we can finally heal them. And some are meant to awaken in us the courage to walk alone for a time, to reclaim the parts of ourselves we abandoned in our search for love. When the universe sends signs that a relationship is over, it is not stealing happiness from you. It is preparing you for a greater authenticity, one you cannot yet see, but one that is already reaching for you through the mist. The most profound journeys often begin in the quiet moment when you finally stop clinging. You let the illusion fall from your hands like autumn leaves, surrendering to the deeper rhythm that life has always been whispering beneath your fear. Jung taught that the soul has a secret knowing, a map hidden beneath the mind's endless arguments. And when a relationship no longer nourishes the sacred unfolding of your being, the universe does not abandon you. It gathers itself around you like a soft but persistent tide, pulling you gently or sometimes forcefully toward your becoming. It sends dreams, patterns, voices, losses, and new callings, all wrapped as signs. They are there not to harden your heart, but to soften it toward truth. You may walk away with trembling hands and a heavy heart. You may second-guess your choice as loneliness presses its first chill against your spirit. But know this: loneliness after leaving what no longer serves you is not punishment. It is the wilderness before the promised land. In Jungian language, this is the night sea journey, the dark passage through which the soul must travel to be reborn. In this darkness, you will shed not only the relationship but the old versions of yourself that once needed it. The abandonment you feared is not real. The universe does not leave you empty. It clears the soil so something richer, truer, and more whole can grow. Trust the ache. Trust the silence. Trust the signs that have brought you here. With time, you will see it, the freedom blooming quietly within you, the mornings when you wake lighter, the spaces inside your soul once crowded with longing, now filled with presence. you will understand that the love you sought in another had been calling you home to yourself all along. And when you look back, it will not be with bitterness, but with a deep and aching gratitude, for the person who once felt like destiny was not a mistake. They were a mirror, a lesson, a necessary chapter in the great unfolding of your spirit. They were the bridge, not the destination, and crossing it led you back to the only place love can truly begin, within. So, if the signs have come, if the dreams have stirred, if the synchronicities have whispered, know that you are not being abandoned. You are being initiated into a higher love, a deeper self, a clearer life. And as you step forward, even if you do so trembling, remember, you are not losing them. You are finally choosing you. And the universe, in its silent, infinite wisdom, has been waiting for you to do exactly that. If you've made it this far, drop a 100 in the comments. It shows you are part of the 1% that's improving every single day.